Thanks, Pat. And thanks everyone for being here today. I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to introduce you to Mojo and Mojo.com. As Pat mentioned, my name is Hank Weghorst. I'm the managing partner here at Mojo.com, and it's Super Advocate. Of course, everybody here is an advocate, but I claim the Super Advocate title. I'm anxious to show this to you. I'll get right to the demo here in a second, but just a little bit of information first. Mojo, we like to call it the B2B marketing data everything application, and the reason we call it that is, well, it kind of does everything with marketing data, and I'm hoping to show some of that to you here in a little bit. We've got the ability for marketers, sales professionals, researchers, analysts to access about 20 million US companies and 70 million US business contacts. And there are self-service features that I'll show you today for tasks such as uploading your B2B lists, creating new lists from scratch, matching and appending third-party data. We do market analysis, gap filling, cloning, merging, deduplication. It goes on, and you'll see a lot of that here in a second. You can upload lists from your favorite CRM system, your customer list, prospect list. You can upload them from your marketing automation system and integrate these data lists into your daily workflow. You can then turn around and take the information that you get added in Mojo and put it right back into that to those systems. There's a built-in data marketplace I'm going to show you today where you can match and append data from not only Mojo, the data sets we've built, but we've also gone out and assembled some of the top data B2B data providers and put their data in the marketplace as well, and given you a one-stop shop for what we believe some of the best data that it can be offered here in the U.S. It's all self-service, it's all point and click, and it's all really easy to do. So I'm going to take you on a quick little tour here, and hopefully everything will work just fine. This is a live demo, so we'll all cross our fingers together and walk through this. Here we are in Mojo. This is the main portfolio screen in Mojo. The cards that you see there represent the lists that you have either uploaded or extracted. Uploaded lists, again, come from your CRM systems, your marketing automation systems, or lists you've created from scratch in something like Excel. And what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to start by uploading a list of my own. I have a business case list here called Trade Show Booth Visitors. This is a list that's pretty representative of the types of lists that you would upload into Mojo. This is a list of prospects that dropped by our trade show booth. I'm in the insurance industry, let's say, and I've got these guys dropped past, and I want to learn more about them. So I'm uploading this list. I've got 78 people that dropped past, you see, 78 rows. It's uploaded, it's matched. Again, that was all in real time. And let's go look at the file itself. Now, the columns that you see here, these are the columns that were in my original file. I gave it a list of things like it's a company names, addresses, city, state, just the types of things you might have on your prospects or customers. What we did then is we turned around and matched that to our main database of companies. Again, I mentioned it's 20 million strong and growing. And what we've done is add a couple of columns here that are interesting. One is the what we call the entity crosscode, or the EXC. This is our Mojo unique identifier for that company. It really is the magic that makes everything happen, because once you have that number in place and matched to your companies in your lists, then you can do things like deduplication and merging, and probably even more importantly, appending data to other third-party data sets that have been matched also to our company database. Next to that is the match score. This is a score that we've given that row during the match process. We have a very sophisticated AI-driven neural network on the back end that basically looks at every single row of information, breaks it down, scores it individually, puts it all back together, and works just like a human does on trying to make a determination as to whether or not that matches. People who are familiar with this industry and familiar with the problem of uploading data and getting good match rates, it is a very complex problem that's typically done manually. What we're going to end up doing here is feeding it to an AI engine as well, and it does a great job. The reason it did a great job is it's been trained by the best guys in the business. For any individual row, you can click on it and see who we've matched to. You can get information about the address matching and the company matching, and other information that might be interesting as you're reviewing your match process as well. Also, just to cover it, you can take a look at the match distribution. Most of these matched at the higher end, but if you really know what you want and know what you're doing, you can come in and adjust the match clip scores as well and have the list rematch to your own characteristics. I won't do that because the bottom line is Mojo does a really good job of figuring out what should match and what doesn't. Now, of course, some of these don't match. These are represented here with these red numbers. As you can look at them closely, you'll see this one was blank, had an address, but no company name. Not much we can do with that. Here's a consultant that had probably a valid address, but you know what? We probably just didn't have that person in our database. So these are the types of things that will happen on your match process. But enough about the technical stuff. We've got a list. I uploaded it. I matched it. Let's go find out about it. I'm going to click on the list and analytics tab, and what this does is give me the breakdown of the list. What am I looking at? I'm looking at 67 unique companies across those 78 rows that were matched. So that tells me that there's some duplicates in that list. It gives me the geo distribution of where those companies are across the United States. Top, obviously, here's California, Massachusetts, New York. If I scroll down a little bit, it gives me a quality index for the list. This gives me an idea of what I uploaded into Mojo. Was it a good list, a bad list? Did it have a lot of garbage in it, blank rows, these kind of things? So we give you a quality score. And you can use that to compare it against other lists that you get, maybe from your own teams or third parties or those kind of things. So you actually have now a number that you can use to compare your quality of your lists. We give you information about your matched rows, your unmatched rows. We give you what's called a sky profile. What a sky profile is if I were to pick a company in the absolute centroid of that sphere of companies that I uploaded, if you will, I'm gonna pick a company that has about 600K in revenue, 5 employees, and happens to be an insurance agent, broker, or service. That's what this list is kind of represented by. I have revenue distribution I can show you, employee distribution. Again, these are small companies. You can see them here to the left of the curves. And of course, the industry distribution, I mentioned this is, and in the insurance industry, I got mostly insurance companies back here when I did my match on my list. So some pretty interesting stuff. What the other thing I can take a look at here is the list details itself. It shows me my original columns I uploaded. It shows me the coverage rates of those columns and actually what we matched it to. So you can begin to understand how we matched this particular list. Now this is some magic going on in the background here. As you notice, I didn't indicate anything in the original file. So Mojo figured out what the columns were, figured out what were in the columns, used that information, matched it, fed it to the AI engine, and produced the match scores. I didn't have to do anything. I can come back, as I showed you with the resetting of the scores, and with this particular feature here, I can direct it a little bit. I can say, well, that's not really the name. This is the name I want you to use in the case maybe you have multiple names in the file or that kind of thing. But all in all, if you just let it go, it does a really, really good job. So I'm going to go back to the company data here. And as you can see, if I scroll left and right, I've got my original data. Let's go back to the main screen. I'm going to play around a little bit now that we've got that company data. One of the things that's probably one of the more interesting features of Mojo is that you can also build lists from scratch. So I'm going to go to build a new list, and I can build a list using just the filters available to me and pull things in, not from lists I have already, but from lists I want to create from scratch. So there's kind of two ways to do that. I'm going to show you both of them. The first one is let's just create a list using filters. So I'm going to say filter by location. I'm going to keep up the insurance thing going on and say that I'm working with my East Coast sales rep today. So let's bring up New York. And I can also, of course, do it by city. So let's say Boston. There it is, Boston, Massachusetts. So now inside New York and Boston, I've got 1,300,000 companies, 300,000 companies that I can deal with. Of course, I don't want them all. I just want the ones in the insurance industry. So let's go down to the industry filter. I'm going to type in insurance. And it's going to find me, let's see, the insurance carriers is one I want, and the insurance brokers is another one I want. So now I've filtered down to just the insurance industry. Still a pretty good size list. Let's let Mojo know that I really don't want the big companies. I only want the small companies. So I'm going to go down to companies that are generating 50 million or less in that list. And I end up with about 5,000 of them. That's still a pretty good size list, but let's create it. I'm going to call it my new insurance companies. And I don't want 5,000 of them. I only need 100 of them today to feed my sales team. And because of that, let's sort these by random. So I'm going to pull 100 random companies out of that list, put it in the folder, and create it. So now what I've just done is, just like the original one, I uploaded my trade show booth visitors. Now I've created sort of a peer, if you will, list of new insurance companies. And I'm going to come back and work with both of those together in a second. So in the new insurance companies, if we look at that, and I go directly to our list analytics, then you can see that, yep, sure enough, I'm in New York and the Massachusetts area. I pulled 100 companies out. They're in my insurance industry and they're all really small. So just what I wanted. And so now I can look at that company data, and here's the actual companies and such. Now, of course, at any time I can export this list and get it back out in a spreadsheet format, so that I can either look at it in a spreadsheet or import it into my CRM system, marketing automation. And when I do that, of course, I have access to all the other information that Mojo has appended to it. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. The other thing I want to do at this point is show you the second way to create a new list. Now, if you remember, I just created one using filters. We also have a function called more like these, and it is a cloning technology. So in a sense, what it's going to do is take a list and clone it. And it's going to make sure that the companies that are in the front, the first one, are just like the companies that it's going to create, except it won't be the same companies. So I'm going to take these trade show booth visitors, which is representative of people who are interested in my products, obviously, and I'm going to put it at the center of this more like these universe, if you will. I just chose it. And around this are the sort of the dimensions or controls, if you will, that I can control to understand my cloning process. So I'm going to say that I also want you to take technologies into account, and let's say growth indicators into account. And so now I've got multiple dimensions I can control, and I can tell it, say, look, location is not really all that important to me. So I'm going to say I'm flexible on that. But the revenue, the size of the company is very important, and the industry is very important, and growth indicators and technology somewhere in between. So basically what I've told it to do is go off and create a clone of my trade show booth visitors using all the attributes that Mojo has and all the information Mojo has about the companies. Things like, are they growing? What technologies do they use? What industry are they in? How much is their revenue? What are their growth rates? These kind of things are all used to create that clone. So let's create a new list. It's going to be called my trade show booth visitors clone, and it says it's going to create 100 of them for me. That's fine. I won't change that, and we'll get it working on that right now. So if I go back to my list, if you remember, I started with my trade show visitors. I created my new insurance companies, and now it's creating my trade show visitors clone list. So I'm beginning to kind of arm up, if you will, because I'm going to have to feed my sales team here in a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is go make this even more interesting by doing something that all B2B marketers should be doing nowadays, which is taking their original customer and prospect list and hunting for information that tells them more about those companies. And the way that we do that is we take you to the Mojo Data Marketplace. Now, the Data Marketplace is data that Mojo has and our third-party vendor partners have that can be matched to companies you upload and or extract from scratch and give you much greater insight into the companies that you're dealing with or the contacts that you're dealing with. So remember, I had my trade show booth visitors. Now I want to go look for interesting information that might give me insight to sell to them or to market to them. And that's what shows up here. So each one of our data sets is represented by a catalog page here in the data marketplace. This is the one for contacts. It gives you a description about the data. It tells you who it comes from, and it gives you a little bit of information, facts, gives you pricing on it if it is indeed a premium data set, and column definitions. Column definitions as to what data you get if you extract it out. So I'm going to close down contacts here. Let's look at the next one, the technology attributes. Technology, here's a partner logo showing up here, description, and the types of information that's available if you append this data set. Technology happens to have technologies in use and IT budget information in this. Really useful information. So again, I've got things like M&A information, I've got financials information, I've got company firmographic information. I've got all sorts of things that I can attach to. We are constantly adding to this marketplace and growing it very, very fast. And our relationships with third-party vendors is very strong right now and getting stronger to add more and more vendors into this marketplace. So as you join the sort of the Mojo bandwagon, if you will, you're going to have benefits of not only our data, but third-party data that we're bringing into the mix here as well. So what I'm going to do for demonstration purposes is just simply add the contacts that are available for my list and add the technology information that's available for my list. Do this very quickly. Put it into my shopping cart, if you will, and I'm going to pin both of those to my trade show visitors list. It's warning me that I need to that I'm about to print premium content, and I'm going to say that's fine and continue with the append, and it's appending it. So now what I've done is I've uploaded this list, it's matched it, and now it's off working very hard to go find the contact data and the technology data associated with all of these companies, and it's going to append it to this list for me so that I can then take it and run with it, if you will. So this won't take too long to do. It's done already. And now I've got some more information. You see the contacts column here is populated, and I can go look at the contacts for my trade show booth visitors. I happen to have 990 contacts got appended to those 60 some odd unique companies that were in there. Here's the crosscodes for the companies. Here's the titles and names and functions. As you can see, we have phone numbers, we have email addresses, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook when available, that type of thing. I can go back to the company data, and I can see if I scroll right, here's all my technology information that I've appended to this. So now I can sort these trade show visitors by their technology spend. I can sort them by their IT budgets. I can sort them by what technologies they have deployed within their organizations. If I look at my list details, it's another way to look at the same thing. I have my original columns here. If you remember, we uploaded these as original, but if I scroll down now, look at all the other columns of information I have appended to this one list. So if you kind of review a little bit in very, very short order, we started with started with a trade show list, and in almost no time at all, we understood the characteristics of that list, where they were from, what they look like, what the company sizes look like. We've cloned that list to create a new list that looks like it. We've come back, we've appended to that list very interesting third-party data that's going to allow me to market. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is we're going to put it all together because I have to satisfy my sales guys, and what I'm going to do is merge those lists. So I'm going to take my trade show list here that we booth visitors list that we just appended. I'm going to take my clone list that we cloned, and I'm going to take my new insurance list that we created from scratch, and I'm going to merge all those suckers together. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with a list for sales is what I'll call it. I'll merge those together. This takes a second, so I'm going to let it work on the background, and while that's working, I'll show you a few other things. So Mojo has a complete built-in help system. It's a video help system. It's context sensitive, so no matter where you are, you have a list of sort of tutorial videos to show you how to get around and use the thing. So in this particular one, I'll choose the working with my list portfolio. And what it does is it opens it up in a screen directly on the page, so I can watch the video as I'm working and vice versa, and learn from it a little bit. Again, these are all context sensitive, so these change based upon what you're doing and where you are. There's a full set of videos available as well out on YouTube. I'll close that up. What I'll do now is we also have the Mojo Forum. What the Mojo Forum is our customer interest forum, so you can ask questions. I'll log into that here real quickly. You can ask questions, get questions answered, all sorts of information about the products, and interesting information as well. Data sheets, product sheets, privacy policies, you name it, it's in there. And of course, you can search for anything. If I wanted to see how pricing works, I could search for pricing and get interesting information about pricing. That's the Mojo Forum, and it's open to Mojo users as well. The other thing I want to show you is the master list. The master list is an interesting concept. What it is with this 2000 number here, this is a number of unique company IDs that have been uploaded and or managed through the process. So in other words, as I have been working over time, we keep track of any unique company you've uploaded or extracted. And that's important because you can use them in very interesting ways. You can do things like say, give me a new list with these characteristics, but don't include any companies I already have in my portfolio. And that's very powerful. So you're not creating any duplicates. Vice versa, you can say, do a filter or a list and create it only using the companies you have in your portfolio. So for example, I could at any time, no matter how many lists I have uploaded, go in and say, show me all the insurance companies in Texas that I have in my portfolio and limit it to my master list. So very, very powerful as you begin to understand and use that. Let's go back to the main screen. And yes, the list for sales is done. If you remember, this was a merged file that contained my original trade show booth visitors file, my cloned trade show booth visitors file, and my new insurance company file. So I've put all three of them together, and the resulting file has the contact data appended to it, about 1,100 contacts. It has technology data appended to it, and it's ready to go. The last thing I'm going to do here is share it with my sales team, and I'll just share it with old Joe there. And he will be ready to rock and roll. The sharing here is very, very interesting in that anybody who understands about sharing large data files knows that email is very unreliable to move data files around, and FTP is not all that easy to do. So what happens is data gets lost and or it's just tough to do. So what we've done is built in sharing into Mojo. You can share a list with any other Mojo user. You can also share it with non-Mojo users. If you share it with a non-Mojo user, what happens is that user gets an email and then with an invitation to join a free copy or free invitation to Mojo for 10 days to review the list. So you can feel free to share your information with people that maybe don't have Mojo on the other side. We handle up the packaging, getting it over to them, getting them in, and once they're in, they have access to all the same features that you do. And of course, we want them to be Mojo users as well, but we give them access to your original list. So that's pretty much it. I'm very, very happy to be able to show you this today, but I do want to end up here on the website. On the website, you've got access to all the information that you need to sign up. If you are interested, go to www.mojo.com. You'll go to our website, and if nothing else, please click on the Try Mojo for free. It takes you to our pricing section, and just read the free trial and sign up right now, because we would love to have you as part of the Mojo family and trying and understanding the product. So I hope that was a great overview for you guys. I hope you understand why we're so excited about bringing it to you. And more than anything, I hope that you go to our website and give it a try. Download it and try the free trial. Thank you very much. And I think now we're going to go to a question and answer session. So again, I really appreciate your time. Thanks.